out and asked if you had read the indictment, and you said you read it word for word, page for page, right?
I did. I keep up. I love Jackson.
Even though they've not been in court and they've not been found guilty, it's just an indictment at this point.
They don't see it. My first statement was, think of your family. Think about your family. Put your family first.
I never thought in a million years we would have been put in the situation that we were in. Never. Because we went through our whole career doing the right thing.
It's utterly ridiculous to me. Utterly ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Othor Cain Show. I'm Othor Cain. Glad to have you aboard on this Tuesday evening. Boy, do we have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to get to all of that coming up in just a little bit. First off, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you. Thank you for your support. I want to let you know that this broadcast is being sponsored by Socrates Garrett for mayor. We appreciate him coming on board and being a part of our sponsorship crew. So big shouts out to him. We'll play his digital ad in a little bit. So we're very thankful and grateful to him for coming on board to support our efforts here on our Facebook Live. Also extremely thankful to all of you as well for your engagement, for your support. We recognize that you don't have to do it, but we also recognize the value of independent Black media, right? We are able to go beyond the headlines. We're able to dig a little deeper. We're able to get to the heart of what matters most to each and every one of you. So thank you for your engagement. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. Our endeavor is to actually go statewide next quarter. And so we can't do that without you. And if you were not here, we would have no stories to tell. So we thank you, thank you, thank you. Ways that you can donate is scrolling across the screen now. You can certainly cash app us at $ Othor Cain, and we are forever, forever, forever grateful. All right, so let's get into our conversation. Let's get into our conversation. Well, first, before we jump into our conversation, let's play Socrates Garrett for mayor ad right now, so you can see his sponsorship.
Showed me how to reach for the best. Yeah. Okay. Right up. All this money, money, money coming to me. No handouts, I really had to do it for me. Watch me work. Watch me work. Watch me work. Get out the dirt. All this money, money, money coming to me. No handouts, I really had to do it for me. Watch me work, watch me work, watch me work. Get out the dirt. You ain't hit it, but you never gonna stop me.
So Socrates Garrett is asking for your vote coming up on Tuesday, April the 1st. Can you believe that voting for mayor is just around the corner, right? Couple of weeks. It'll be here. April the 1st will be here before you know it. So I would suggest that you go ahead and get a plan, map out your strategy for that today. We've got to get it done. Folks, we've got to turn up and turn out on Tuesday, April the 1st. All right. Tuesday, April the 1st. It's just around the corner. So again, thank you, Socrates Garrett, for helping to support this program. We are grateful for that. Now let's get into our conversation. So a ton of forums, right? A ton of forums happening across the city. And I actually think forums are important. I think forums can provide greater insight. I think forums are designed to uh, give voters an opportunity to learn more about a candidate. I think forums are designed to really get to the heart of issues. The problem is, though, there are too many candidates running to have meaningful dialogue, right? To have really in depth conversation. Prior to coming on tonight, I was reading an article in Mississippi Today, and there was this lady who was saying that she asked a question at last night's forum. I guess it was last night, at last night's forum. And she said, of all the candidates up there, only one candidate actually answered her question. You know, she said that most of them, they were beating around the bush or deflecting from her question. Her question was not deep. It was not. It wasn't a gotcha question, and it really wasn't something that you honestly had to think about. She just talked about the conditions of our city and where a candidate would, or how a candidate would help the city and continue their work in the city, even if they lose the election. You know, how will you remain committed, right? And she said only one candidate really answered the question. But that's the problem with having so many candidates in a race. I mean, it's problematic. It's really hard to get to know all of them. It's hard to form an intelligent opinion to make a seemingly reasonable choice. It becomes difficult, right? So many people, you know, and I know it's a part of democracy, and I know that we all have a right, right? We all have a right, and you know, it's democracy. We have a right. Yeah, Damar. I mean, I think that's a legitimate question, and I think that that question speaks volumes to the integrity of each candidate. How do you continue this, and not just sit around and wait for the next 4 years to come before you are engaged and want our vote again, right? But the problem is, again, there are too many. You know, I wish for the greater good that there was an opportunity for the candidates to get together and let's hash this thing out. Right, that's right. Let's all of our cards on the table. Let's look at our record heretofore. Let's look at our service heretofore. Let's look at our commitment and let's look at what we've done for Jackson prior to announcing your candidacy. So, you know, there has to be some kind of way to weed folk out because it's just far too many. But be that as it may, here we are, right? And April 1st is, as Tamika alluded to, just 14 days away on April Fool's Day. And so your charge from me, your charge, it's on April 1st, but we certainly should not, you know where I'm going. It's April Fool's Day. And so your charge to me is that we certainly should not elect a fool, right? We certainly should not elect a fool. And so I think at this juncture, we could, for me, I think I could even narrow my top 5 down, but I won't do that until next week, right? For me, I can narrow my top 5 down to 3, really 2, but we won't do that until next week. Honestly, you just got to do it. You just got to figure it out, man. You just got to figure it out. Got to figure it out. 14 people will be on the Democratic ballot on April the 1st. 14 people, right? 14 people will be on the ballot, on the Democratic ballot alone on April the 1st. And so we've got to be able to weed, and weave through all of that, man. It's too much. It's entirely too much. Sheila, that's a great question. And I've asked that question repeatedly. Sheila says, do each candidate actually think they can win? What's really going on? I've asked that question repeatedly, though mine was laced with a little more color and sarcasm, if you would, because my question was, are all of these people that arrogant to think that they could be elected mayor of Jackson? Are they that arrogant to believe that they can honestly be elected to mayor? I don't get it. I don't get it. Dr. J, our producer here, she shares her top candidate. She says Socrates is her top candidate. I would tell you that Socrates has impressed me a great deal. I will say this, and I think I said it to Socrates during the interview. I would say this to you. When I first, and Dr. J says she's basing that on the forums that she's attended. That's good. That's good. I would say, though, for me, when I first heard that Socrates was running, at first I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a joke for real, right? You know, I didn't hear from him. People just started asking if I had heard that, and I had not until folks started asking me, right? And I thought it was just a joke. I honestly thought it was just a joke. But then when he actually signed up, he submitted his paperwork and he signed up, I was like, oh, he's doing this for real, right? For real. And then I said, he's not serious. He's not serious about doing this. There must be some kind of strategy going on. He's really not serious about doing this. But I'm telling you, as the more I watched him, the more I watched his groundwork, the more I started reading quotes, the more I started watching clips of the various forums, I said that Socrates has made some real inroad. And since his interview, I've had several people inbox me to ask my personal thoughts, and so I gotta say that I am pleasantly not only surprised but impressed, because again, I didn't think he was serious. Even when he submitted his stuff, I just didn't think he was serious. And then I started watching. I started paying attention. And I said, Socrates is a very formidable candidate. And he is. And he is. And, I think, I think the city could benefit from a person with a business mind. I really do. He's been in business for a number of years. He knows Jackson. And so I think that experience alone could really help and benefit Jackson. So, so take the forums for what they're worth. Now, there's a forum that I am extremely excited about. There's a forum Thursday morning. There's one tomorrow night. Some of the organizers of the forum tomorrow night reached out to see if I could live stream from the forum. Sadly, Wednesdays are Bible class nights for me, and I have a 7 o'clock teen class, and we've got a presentation on Sunday, so we've got to get ready for it. We've got to get ready for it on Wednesday night, but I'm going to try to stick my head in the door for a few minutes tomorrow night. But the forum that I am most excited about is the one that's happening Thursday morning at Forest Hill High School. I'm excited about it because I think all of you know that my passion is for the youth. the youth in this city, right? The youth in this city. And I'm excited because these kids have done an amazing job putting this thing together. And this young man that you'll meet on Thursday if you attend, Jivian Shed, he's a senior at Mora High School. And I'm telling you, this young man is sharp. He's detailed, oriented. He wants to make sure all of his I's are dotted and his T's are crossed. He is somebody, we'll see his name in lights at some point in the future. But I'm excited for him. I'm excited that all of these kids from all of these high schools will be there, and they're ready with their questions. And the forum is 100% youth focused, youth driven. Oftentimes, we tend to think that youth don't have voices, and they do have voices, right? So I'm most excited about that. If you get an opportunity, it is Thursday morning at 10 a.m. At Forest Hill High School. Miss Marshall Thomas, who is the assistant superintendent for high school, she and her team, they've been in the planning stages, and they have worked it out where these kids will be bused over to Forest Hill to be a part of it. So it's exciting. It's very exciting. That's the forum that I'm speaking of now. To make it that forum is Thursday morning at 10 a.m. At Forest Hill High School. But it should be good. Should be absolutely good. Oh, I saw my scar on the camera. I burned myself on the straps at the gym yesterday. So yeah, that's that. But anyway, if you get a chance, if you get an opportunity, you should really check out that forum Thursday morning, 10 a.m. at Forest Hill High School. They could have picked a better high school. They could have picked my high school, but that's a different story. You know, you can't be perfect, right? You can't get everything right, but it should have been at Callaway. Yeah, Dr. J had to get that in there. Had to sneak that one on in there. But listen, so in our endeavor to be open and honest, and when we get to my thoughts at the end, I'll delve a little more into that. I'll say this to you, you know, there's nothing like having people who support you and love you around you. Because I've just been still now getting text messages and telephone calls about the ignorance of campaigning, and boy, we can get ignorant, right? When it comes to when it comes to our political season, we can really get ignorant. I'll say this. I'll say a little bit more when we get to my personal thoughts at the end. Dr. J, we got to come up with a better title for my personal thoughts at the end. And I got a feature. I'll say that for the end too, but I got a feature that I'm going to start introducing at the beginning of the show, and it's probably one of my favorite pastimes. But I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But there's nothing like having people around you. There's nothing like having support. There's nothing like having folk that care about you, that support you. Right? There's nothing. There's nothing like that, man. Nothing like it, and I'm grateful for that. But political season, politics, campaigning, it brings out the worst in people, the worst in people, and it highlights their ignorance, right? It really puts their ignorance center stage. Um, um, it really showcases the level of ignorance that exists um, um, here. But I'm reminded, and then we're gonna move because I got to really talk about this article. But I'm reminded, and I'll tell you how they are connected. What I'm saying now in this article, so I'll tell you how it's connected. But I'm reminded in this time and in this space, I am reminded of I can't think of the young lady's name, but she played on thank you, cuz I appreciate that. But she played on one of Tyler Perry's shows. I think maybe the Have and the Have Nots. Sumner, Taquita Sumner. I can't really remember how the correct way to pronounce uh, her last name, but she played on that show. But she was on the Breakfast Club the other day. She was on the Breakfast Club the other day, and I think one of the hosts said to her, and I thought he was being authentic. I thought the question was authentic. I thought the question was sincere, right? And so he asked her, and they were talking about Tyler Perry, and she was talking about one of the question was they said, Tyler Perry is known for, paying his people and taking care of his cast. And in some instances, and in a lot of instances, really paying them more than they had ever made before in terms of working on these projects. And I think they asked her, is that the same for you? Is that your testimony? They didn't use testimony, but is that your story? Is that the same for you? And what she said was that she had been blessed in this industry, to make good money. She was doing well. And she said, but I can tell you this, what he did do for me. He's paying me well, but I've been blessed and he's paying me that. But what he also did for me is that he was the first to green light a particular project of mine. She said, I had been trying to get this movie green lighted. I've gone to all of these film festivals, and I've interacted with this person, this studio, this person, that studio. But Tyler came along, and he was the first to green light it. And she said that she would forever be in his debt, forever be grateful to him for doing that. And then one of the hosts asked her, and this is the question, her response resonated with me. And the question I thought was a good question. I honestly thought the brother was very sincere in his question. And so he said to her, he said, Tyler does not get the recognition that he deserves or the accolades that he deserves for the work that he do. Meaning, we see all the ignorance on Facebook and social media every time one of his shows come out. Somebody talks about his writing, somebody says it's trash. But I'm gonna tell you something, that Beauty in Black is amazing. But anyway, and so he was very sincere. He doesn't get the accolades, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves or the praise that he deserves. And you know what she said? Her response was, he does, particularly from those who matter and those who mean something to him. Man, I thought about that thing. She said he does, particularly from those who matter to him, those in his circle, those that know him, those that support him, and he supports them. He gets that. He gets the necessary praise that he deserves. She said he's not looking for anything more than that, right? He's not looking for his critics to offer praise, right? He's not looking for his haters to offer praise. He gets the praise and the accolades and the pat on the backs from those that matter. And I thought about that thing, man, because that was a word. That was a great response. Because we could have easily gone negative with her response. But I thought about that thing. Folk that know you, folk that support you, people that know you, people that support you, they're going to give you the praise, the support, the accolades that are necessary. The folk who don't, you don't worry about that, right? And those people, I want to be very clear. I want to be very, 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 very clear. Those folk that share and engage in ignorance, you're just as guilty as the original content creator, if you would, for lack of a better description, or I could have said the original poster. But I stand on this and I live by this, and then we'll move, and you'll see how all of this is connected. The truth does not need defending. You only have to defend a lie. The truth does not need defending, right? Because if you allow yourself to wallow in ignorance and in garbage, then you're knee deep, right? Then you find yourself having to explain, right? Y'all hang tight for 1 second, guys. Hang on 1 second. All right. I'm going to try to mute some of the sound. Hang on 1 second. All right. And so you find yourself getting involved in the weeds and the ignorance. And you have to do that. The truth does not need defending. So I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the concern. But ignorance, it's not my forte. I don't allow that stuff to be digested in my spirit at all. But let's move. And I want to show you how all of that connects with this. Okay, let's move to this. So we've been talking a lot during this campaign cycle about Northeast Jackson Republicans and who they are supporting and their attempts to buy this race, right? Because they know they don't have the political capital, right? They don't have the political capital. They just don't have the votes to win, right? They just don't have the votes to win this election. So they have to put their money behind a candidate. And then someone said the other day that I just wish our monetary support could be silent because it prevents what we feel is a good candidate. It prevents a good candidate from winning. Well, I'm glad it's not silent, and I'm glad that it is known because it helps us regular everyday voters understand where you're coming from and what you're trying to do. And it also helps us understand who's real, who's being bought, right? Versus who's been bought. It helps us understand, right? It helps us understand who's real, who's in this thing for the people of Jackson, or who's in it for the money. All of this is going to connect, as my preacher would say. It's all going to make sense in just a little bit. So I found this article, and I thought I had saved it, but I spent a few days, a couple of weeks actually, researching and trying to dig it up because I thought I had saved it to my hard drive, thought I had saved it to this folder, thought I had saved it to that file, and just absolutely could not find it. But lo and behold, I found it. Lo and behold, I found it. So it's an article dated May 2nd, 2017. And the article was published in the Clarion Ledger. And the author of the article is Anna Wolf. Anna Wolf is now at Mississippi Today, but in 2017, she was at the Clarion Ledger. And I remember reading this article then in 2017 when it was first published. And I remember thinking, wow. Right? That was the first thought. Just wow, really? Wow. I just remember, wow. Did you really say that? Did you really say that? I just remember thinking, wow. Anyway, so the article was May 2nd. Pull it up here. The article was May 2nd. No, I'm sorry, May 3rd, 2017. May 3rd. And the article title was Lumumba wins primary, likely next Jackson mayor. Written again by Anna Wolf, who was at the Clarion Ledger, of course, at the time, but it's now at Mississippi Today. And so I'm just going to read the article, and then I'm going to, point out a few things. So Chokwe Antar Lumumba took the ballroom stage just after 10 p.m. Tuesday night at the King Edward, the same hotel Jackson Mayor Tony Yarber celebrated his election just 3 years earlier. Lumumba came out singing, "Victory today is mine," as a crowd of hundreds chanted along. The 34-year-old local attorney and son of Jackson's late mayor, Chokwe Lumumba, will almost certainly be Jackson's next mayor, despite Republican, independent, and third-party opposition in this heavily Democratic city in the June 6th general election. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. Those Northeast Jackson Republicans just don't have the vote to determine or decide who the mayor of Jackson is. So I'll read that again. Okay, the 34-year-old local attorney and son of Jackson's late mayor, Chokwe Lumumba, will almost certainly be Jackson's next mayor, despite Republican, independent, and third-party opposition in this heavily Democratic city in the June 6th general election. He won the Democratic primary for mayor without a runoff, receiving over 55% of the vote against 8 other candidates. In 2014, he ran to replace his father, who died after less than 8 months in office, right? I can't remember how many people was in the Democratic primary then, but he won it, the primary, without a runoff. And I remember being just shocked, just amazed that it did not go to a runoff, right? I won't read the whole thing, so I'm going to skip down to the good part. So in 2014, Lumumba won the Democratic primary with Yarber trailing by 10 votes, causing a runoff. After garnering support from the white business community, Yarber defeated Lumumba in the following runoff. From start to finish, the election lasted just about 5 weeks. That was that special election. This time around, meaning back in 2017, Lumumba had been campaigning for nearly a year, giving him more time to develop his message and demonstrate his own voice. He's still running on a platform of continuing his father's work, but he makes distinctions, suggesting to declare and ledger that in choosing his team, he would rely more on qualifications of the individuals than a perception of promise. All right, now let's get to the good part. So they quote lots of people, lots of candidates, right? Let's get down for a spot. So Graham got 50% of the vote. Horn got 21%, enough to get him into a runoff. He believed I had other candidates perform better. Running Jr., one of the 5 expected front runners, finished 5th, just 2%. All right. I want to set this up for you because here's where we're going to stop and just have a real conversation about this, right? This quote is interesting to me. So this voter, this is a good place. Some of the candidates are saying that they are going to give Jackson the leadership it needs to bring it back, revitalize it, get rid of some of the crime. This, according to voter John Hall. He said this outside of his polling place that night. He said you can't get rid of all of it, but some of it, to make it a better place for families to live and make it a place that people will want to come to visit. Jackson was a great city once, and it can be again with the right leadership. I hope that whoever is elected, that they are not just saying what they're going to do, but they really do it. Holt voted for Hinds County Supervisor Robert Graham, who was expected to compete that Tuesday evening with Senator John Horn for a spot to face Lumumba in a runoff. It never got to that point. Lumumba won the Democratic primary without a runoff. Graham got 15% of the vote that time. Horn got 21%, enough to get him into the runoff, he believes, had other candidates performed better. Running Cruder Jr., one of the 5 expected front runners, finished 5th with just 2% of the vote. All right. And next is this famous quote that I want to spend some time talking about. So the next paragraph, the next quote in this article It says quote, in Jackson, voters continue to be fickle and undereducated about how this process works, Horn said after conceding. Quote, they are very much into who's the most popular person and who sounds the best and who brings a certain flair to politics. That doesn't always translate to getting results, but it's what they like. Horn expressed concern over Lumumba being in over his head. Now let's analyze this quote, because this is a guy who's asking for your vote. He's asking these same fickle, undereducated people for their vote again. So are we to assume between 2017 and today, 2025, that the voters in Jackson have somehow become less fickle and more educated? Is that the assumption, that we've become less fickle and more educated? Because in 2017, in Jackson, voters continue to be fickle and undereducated about how this process works. Are you more educated today? Are you less fickle today? Because for me personally, I don't think that my educational status has changed from 2017 to now. I don't think I've done any additional studies to understand the political process. I think I'm the same. Well, I might be more fickle. I might be more fickle now. John says they are very much into who's the most popular person and who sounds the best and who brings a certain flair to politics. That doesn't always translate to getting results, but it's what they like. Have we changed any as voters? Have you changed any since 2017? Are you more educated now? And that's why he feels comfortable asking for your vote? Because maybe now you're more educated? Maybe that's why his sign says Jackson is ready. Maybe he somehow thinks that the voters in Ward 3, 4, 5, 6 are more educated now? Because certainly he's not talking about the voters in Ward 1 or some of the voters in Ward 7 that's funding his campaign. Are we to assume that the same people he's asking for their vote, that we've somehow changed? Maybe we've matured. Maybe we have a better understanding of the process. For me, I hardly doubt that any of us have changed. I hardly doubt any of us have changed. Barbara says, yes, we're more aware of what's going on. We are ready, but not for him. That's interesting. There's a quote tonight in Mississippi Today where he tried to clean it up. Where he tried to clean it up, and I tried to pull it, and I can't find it now. But there's a quote today. Molly Minta, who's a reporter over at the Clarion Ledger. Over at Mississippi Today. She wrote an article covering the debate, the forum last night, and I had it on one of these screens, and now it's gone. But he tried to clean it up. He tried to say now the voters are sweet or intelligent, but still a little fickle. He tried to clean it up because I think apparently somebody addressed it at the forum, addressed that quote at the forum last night, and he tried to clean it up. I wish I could pull that quote. I had it on one of these screens, but it's gone. But Molly Minta, if you get a chance, Molly Minta, at Mississippi Today wrote the article that appears today, and he tried to clean it up. I wish that I could pull that so that I could show you the difference in his word choices. So he tried to clean it up a little bit because somebody called him out on the quote last night. Byron says, no, it has got worse. Only senior citizens going to vote for him. We don't want a mayor talking about the people. We need a mayor talking to the people. I could not agree with you more. When I read that in 2017, I was like, how dare you talk about the people because you lost? How dare you? How dare you talk about the people because you lost? And I said to myself then, I remember being so offended then. And I said to myself then, he's going to come back. He's going to do this again, right? He's going to do this again. He's going to have to come back before these people. These same people that he's talking about. He's going to have to come back before us and ask us for our vote again. And I said then, if this time came back around, and I had a chance to interview him, that would have been my first question. And of course, you know he's not coming on with me. David says John is out of touch with the people. And that's my belief. He is out of touch with certain segments of this city. He just can't relate with certain segments and certain populations in this city. And I said then, and I remember clearly being offended by it. And I said, man, this man is going to do this again. He's going to come back and he's going to have to ask these same voters for their vote again. How on God's green earth is he going to explain that? I don't see how you're able to explain it. I don't see how you crawl or claw your way out of that. You attempted to insult the voters, and honestly, it's diabolical that he's running. After that quote, it's diabolical that he would even sign up to run. But now his campaign side makes sense because now he believes that you're okay, that you're educated now, you're less fickle now. Because his campaign sign says Jackson is ready. So I assume, it's an assumption on my part, that he thinks, one, that you're somehow now educated, two, that you're less fickle, or three, that Black folk just forgive. Like we just forgive. I think he thinks that you're just dumb and that you have a forgiving spirit, right? And that you cast it into the sea of forgetfulness, right? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. But I remember, I'm like an elephant, man. I remember Well, I couldn't remember where I put the darn quote, but I found it. I was not going to be defeated by not putting my hands on the guard. And this side note, this is what I um, say in workshops all the time. Nothing is permanently deleted ever. But let me tell you something. You've got a job to do. You've got to vote for a mayor in 14 days. Barbara says, forgiving spirit is one thing, stupidity is another. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. Folks, you've got a decision to make in 14 days. In 14 days, man, 14 days. You've got a decision to make. That quote is tough. That quote is tough. I'm going to see. Y'all just give me one quick second. Let me just see. Let me see if I can pull Molly Mentis article quickly. Let me just see if I can pull her article. Ah, there it is. Let's see. Let's look at the difference in the words. Let's look at the difference in the words. Hold on, let me find it. Because I found it funny. I found it extremely funny. Words matter. Words matter. Let's see. Where is it? Oh no! Hang on, y'all. Hang tight. I'm finding. I want to find this.
Yeah,
I thought it was.
okay. Right up. All this money, money, money coming to me. No handouts, I really had to do it for me. Watch me work, watch me work, watch me work. Get out the dirt. All this money, money, money coming to me. No handouts, I really had to do it for me. Watch me work, watch me work, watch me work. Get out the dirt. You a hitter, but you never gonna stop me. Still wonder how, yeah, you always make it right. Maybe it's all chance, but either way, you showed me how to reach for the best.
All right, I found it. All right, I found it. Thank you, Dr. J, for playing that spot. That was right on time. All right. So apparently, it was Mayor Lumumba that highlighted this article at the forum on last night. Right? Apparently, it was Mayor Lumumba that did that. In response to Lumumba's shot at him, Horn said that Jackson voters are sweet and innocent, but fickle sometimes in terms of how we pick our folks. And when we hear somebody say, free the land, power to the people, when I'm mayor, you're mayor, Horn said, repeating comma Lumumba phrases. Do you feel like you're the mayor? After 8 years, is life better for you in Jackson? So now you're not undereducated, still fickle, he says, but you're not undereducated. Now you are sweet and innocent. Let me tell you something. Whoever is on John's communications team, they should be in a huddle right now. They should be huddled up. They should be writing scripts, and they should be cussing him out and saying to him, you should never deviate from the script. You can't speak off the cuff, right? You got to follow a script, because now all of a sudden, voters were sweet and innocent. Fickle, though, sometimes when it comes to picking our leaders. That's an insult, man. That's an insult. Come on, man. That's an insult. We don't have the intellect or the wherewithal to decide who we want to lead our city. So you go from fickle, undereducated, to now you're sweet and innocent. Come on, man. Come on, man. You're out of touch. So who's ever on his communications team, because he's paying people to spew ignorance, and I'm not a candidate. I'm just saying. See the connection there? See the connection? I'm just saying. I'd rather be fickle and undereducated and get it right on April the 1st. That would be the line that I'm in. Fickle, undereducated, but in the right line to get this election right. I'll take that. Color me that. Put that label on me. I'll take it. I'll take fickle and undereducated. Because the insult is sweet and innocent. Whoever is working his communications team, man, y'all should be huddled up now. That's what he said, advice you don't have to pay for. You should be huddled up now, writing scripts. Don't deviate from this. Some things you just don't address, right? Stick to the script, man. Stick to the script. You don't have to address everything. Everything does not deserve a rebuttal. Everything does not deserve a response. You ain't got to do it. Dr. J said he might as well have said, hot and cold, let me see that Tootsie Roll. Oh my God. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But come on, man. We're better than that. Guys, we deserve better, right? Jackson deserves better. Jackson deserves better. Barbara, I hadn't even thought about that, but that's a good question. Barbara says, am I the only one questions the timing of the announcement from Jackson Water about rate increases in the upcoming election? Just ask it. I hadn't even connected that, but that's something to think about. That's interesting. I hadn't connected that. That's an interesting connection. That's an interesting connection. Listen, let me get to some personal thoughts before we get out of here tonight. Let me say this to you. This election is important. Barney, late. Can you start from the beginning? There's a thing called replay. You got to watch the replay, man. So this election is important, and you hear that all the time. I will not say that this election is critical. I will not say that we are in dire need, during this election. I wouldn't say that at all. I would say it's important. I would say that there's a need for all of us to vote. There's a need for all of us to look at all of the candidates and examine all of the candidates. There's a need for that. There's an absolute need for that. There's an absolute need for that. The election is just that important. It is important enough for you to pay attention to what people say. It's important enough for you to pay attention to their actions. It's important enough, right? It's important enough for you to follow the money and see who's funding who. It's important enough to see if these candidates are tied to ignorance. Right? It's important enough. It's important enough. Yep, Barney, I did, because you know who you voted for, and I'm still talking bad about you. I'm not gonna stop there. You know, this dude, I'm gonna go in and put him on Front Street. This dude right here, my buddy, you know, and I'm gonna say it because this is what I almost did today. I got so mad yesterday about something Trump did. I got so angry. And honestly, I said, I just need to go through my friends list on Facebook and just start deleting everybody that's connected to this man, everybody that I know that supported this man. I just need to go through and start deleting because I saw a reel from somebody. And she made a hell of a lot of sense, right? She made a hell of a lot of sense, and um, and she said, you know, you voted for Trump. You think like Trump. Don't tell me you don't. You voted for him. You support that. So I think that you're a racist too. And I was like, I need to just unfriend all of these people. I just need to unfriend all of these people. But I didn't do it. I didn't do it because of Barney. Yeah, right. That's it, Dr. J. That's it. That's why I got so angry. And I want to have a poll. We're going to talk about that on Thursday. I want to have a whole show about that. I will say Barney made me go look, and Barney, it is gone. He did make me go look, and I went and saw it, and it is gone. But let me say this: this election is important, and you've got a job to do. You've got to make a decision. It's important to listen to what people say and to watch their action. And I would say this about Horn, since he's the one we're on tonight. If you've had all of these tools in your toolbox called Jackson for the last 32 years at the state capitol, at the Senate, why have you not used those tools in all of this time? And why do you only want to use those tools if you become mayor? And I think that's an important question. I don't think it's unfair. I don't think it paints you in any kind of negative or bad light. That isn't fair. But if you've had all of these tools in your toolbox labeled Jackson for 32 years, what's your track record in Jackson? And why is it that you only want to go in that Jackson toolbox when you're running for mayor? I think that's a fair question, right? David said 0 to 32. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Voters, you fickle, undereducated voters. You've got a decision, man. A decision to make. Oh, well, maybe now you're sweet and innocent. Little fickle, but maybe now you're sweet and innocent. Maya Angelou said, when they show you who they are, believe them the first time. Right? When they show you who they are, believe them the first time. All right? Hey, listen, next week, next Tuesday, I'm going to start opening the show with wine reviews because wine is my favorite drink, my favorite pastime. So I'm going to start opening the show with wine reviews, right? So hopefully we're going to get a sponsor to help us make that feature happen. I think we have 2 birds with 1 stone. I can have a nice glass of wine delivering great commentary right? I think we can kill two birds in one stone and get a wine for someone to sponsor that segment. We'll have a good time. Thank you for your concern, though. Thank you for reaching out, for caring. I don't succumb to the ignorance. Can't get on that level, right? The truth does not need defending. It's funny as hell to me, right? I don't allow that stuff to be positive. It's funny to me. At the end of the day, I'm not running. I'm not running. And I'll say this, and I promise you I'm getting out of here. I sound like my preacher with 3 or 4 closes. I promise you I'll get out of here after this. And so the central question remains to Earl Banks and Chris Bell. What do you guys do with the money that you collect at the Martin Luther King breakfast? That question remains. That question remains. And this, Barney, if it's there, you can. This is a good bottle. This is an Earthquake Cab. This is a good bottle of wine. I'm going to have some when I get off. But we're going to start that feature next week. That's a good cab. Heavy body. Chris Bell, Earl Banks, I'm not done. We're going to talk about your record. Question remains, though, what do you do with the money? And if it was legit, your feelings would not have been hurt. Hit dogs will hollow. Right. Where them funds at, not where them fans at. Where them funds at. Dr. J, you're on it tonight. You're absolutely on it tonight. That's all of our time, guys. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Certainly do appreciate it. We'll talk to you again.